Let's make a toast. Toast to never-ending stories
Good friends.
and good friends and lots of history. All right.
All right. Welcome back to the show, guys. Welcome to Car Talk. My name is Liz.
And I'm Eddie. And today we have a special guest, a movie star.
Oh,
Movie star.
Mark Rios. Mark, thanks for coming on the show, man.
damn. Thanks for having us. Let me just knock some stuff down and be real awkward here while I do it.
Nailed it.
We can't edit that out.
That's staying.
I mean, everybody that knows me. They're like, oh, that's definitely Mark. Being awkward and knocking stuff down.
That's all right.
Yeah. We go back, man. We go back to the helicopter days.
Yeah, when were we at Bragg together?
I got there in 13.
Yeah, so did I. So yeah, 13 to you were there when I got out, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
17?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5
That
years
last
in the
year.
same unit.
That last you there? Mm.
I
Or
wasn't
were
there
you were-
much.
yeah, or lack thereof. And then they had to put him on night shift.
Well, you
'Cause-
know, like we started talking about earlier, but you know, I dedicated most of my time. You know, the better part of that 8 years that I was in, you know, I spent 6 of them being first one there, last one to leave, like all about the mission, all
Yeah.
about trying to get stuff done. And it kind of just changed and got so political and so worried about people's feelings and you know, a lot less about the mission and getting stuff done. And I had kind of checked out. By the time I made 6, that's when they were like, "Oh, you're going to re-enlist and go to Korea." And at this time, you know, my side business, you know, was taking off. I had like a 6-month waiting list for cam swaps and
Yeah.
teams. And I've got 3 kids. I've missed so many birthdays and holidays and first days of school. So when they're like, "Yeah, you're going to re-enlist, go to Korea," and I was like, I think I'm going to get out and build race cars instead.
Yeah,
So
that's an exciting lifestyle.
yeah, I mean, it was hard at the time, you know, because I was trying to get the name out there. I was working for like Peanuts and Pocket Lint, just trying to, you know, get my hands on cool stuff and grow the name. And man, I was working so much then. I was kind of, you know, I was in not the best relationship in the world, a little bit toxic, and so I was kind of burying my head in work a little bit too. But wasn't loving my job at the Army, wasn't loving being in QC, you know, and you know, I'd get off work and, you know, I'd work all night sometimes. There's times
Yeah.
where I'd be out in the garage working and, oh man, the sun's coming up. It's time to go get ready for PT.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you looking sleepy coming into work.
Sleepy and hungover.
Sounds like it was worth it, though. Your business is doing
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, no, it's done well. I mean, there was lots, in hindsight, there's lots of things I could have done differently that, you know, hindered my growth. Like, I'm not good at running a business. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at building cars. I'm good at tuning.
Yeah.
But as far as the whole actual like business management part of things, I'm not the best at. So there's a lot of things I had to learn the absolute hardest way possible. But you know, it's gotten there. It's I wouldn't change any of it. That's a fact.
So what year did you get out?
It was the end of 2017.
All right, and you've been nonstop drowning in projects and being all over the place, all over the world. And I know that your name is all the way down in France, right?
Yeah, we shipped a total of 3 engines to France.
Wow.
We haven't in a little while. We've kind of haven't really been pushing that much a lot. The biggest thing we were shipping were engines, and we got so busy and so backed up when COVID hit, and it was so hard to get parts. So we had a couple of engines that were like, man, I had people getting really pissed because, you know, they paid me a good chunk of money
Yeah.
for these, you know, if it's an engine we're building here, we're very meticulous. We try to do a very good job.
Yeah.
But if something happens, you can look after it.
Mhm.
You know, you can make it right. You can take care of it while you're sitting in the car tuning, and you pull it back in and tell your, you know, one of my guys, hey, you know, check this out, fix this, do that. When you're shipping it to France, it's not a good look if anything goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so they're significantly more meticulously built. We're breaking them in on stands. You know,
Yeah.
we bought, you know, aftermarket engine management system to, you know, fully break them in, make sure they've got good oil pressure, everything's working like they should, and a lot more money into, you know, the best things that we can put in them.
Mhm.
And when we're doing that and we're buying everything from scratch, it's not like, oh, we've got this junkyard motor, we're going to put some better parts in. We're starting with a block and we're ordering every single odd and end to make them intake to oil pan, you know, harness, fuel system, and everything. So COVID made it to where, man, there's so many times where, you know, I have collected these people's money. They want their engine. They're starting to get into their drift season.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting on the same set of lifters or a set of cylinder heads from somebody who's, you know, waiting on valves to come in to ship me the heads for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months.
Jeez.
So we got the last of those out and dealt with the last of that little bit of headache. You know, and then barely just switched over to focusing in on being tune only, you know, calibrating only, which still allows me to have at least one full-time guy because every single car that comes in is supposed to be ready to tune.
Yeah.
They're never ready to tune. I could keep my full-time guy full-time busy, with odds and ends and misfires and bad sensors and, all the stuff that, oh yeah, man, it's ready. And then, I'm like,
You tell me every car that comes in isn't perfect?
maybe 1 out of 20 cars that get dropped off for a tune are actually ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are these things that the client has done to their car themselves before they bring it to you for a tune, or?
Yeah, a lot of times it is. I mean, a lot of times it's other shops. There's when we first got started, it was friends of friends
Yeah.
and buddies and word of mouth stuff around local. I want to say like the third or fourth vehicle I ever tuned was Delita's truck,
Yeah.
kind of like tinkering and playing around. I looked through my bracelet.
Yeah, our boy.
But, and it was all that kind of new stuff. Now, 90% of what we tuned just got tuned somewhere else. So they just paid somebody else probably twice as much money or more sometimes, to tune something, and then it gets sent to us. And, because they're not happy with this bucking, surging, stalling, didn't make the power it should, not shifting right, something odd or end like that. And a lot of times it's some small mechanical issue that kept them from getting good data, and they just either didn't care, were moving too fast and weren't taking enough time,
Yeah.
or just not smart enough to interpret the data right to see it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, do you have a dyno in your shop?
Nope. We're still street tuning everything.
Okay.
Ooh.
You want to get dyno?
We will be getting one. I tune on a handful of dynos. I tune for a handful of places. For Cheddar Motorsports down in Orlando, A&B Performance out in Wilmington, Certified Performance down in South Carolina. I tune a lot of cars for shops with dynos. And a lot of times they'll get, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars together. We charge hourly to travel. If I'm at the shop working on something, it's $125 an hour. Well, if I'm going to stop at the shop from work and drive for 4 hours, total round trip, I'm charging hourly too. So
Yeah.
usually they'll get a handful together to make it worth, splitting the cost across everybody. And I'll go sit on the dyno all day. I mean, it's not a bad tool to have, but it's not the best way to do things.
Okay.
It's just a tool, and the best way I've found, in my opinion, to calibrate things is put them in real world conditions.
Yeah.
On the dyno, most of the time, if we tune something on the dyno, we dial it into a T, and then we go roll it on the street or the track or whatever. It's usually pretty far out, just because the load is different on the
load's
dyno.
different.
The airflow across the vehicle is different, and then a lot of times, if you don't have good ventilation inside the shop, you run into EGR, real world, like exhaust gas ventilation that's in the air and going back into the intake, and throwing off the AFR. So and load will also change, the actual AFR. So a lot of the cars we tune, they don't have built-in factory widebands unless it's aftermarket EMS.
Yeah.
So we'll dial something into a perfect T on the dyno and then go roll it on the street, and it's like rolling coal, stupid rich.
Yeah.
Or, on other dynos, same dyno jet, looks like it's all set the same. Dial something into a T and you go roll it on the street, and where that tune was within, 1 or 2% of, say I target 80 lambda, say it's within 1 or 2%, go roll on the street and it's like 93 lambda and pinging and bucking and not acting right. So it's always best for us to put them in real world conditions, and you can't dial in, locking the converter, like, cruising down the highway and see what gear it wants and dialing in the part throttle shifts and making sure it's not acting dumb when you're coming to a stop. And,
Yeah.
it's just best to, drive it, tune it how you're going to drive it.
That makes sense. Where's your shop located now?
We're actually in Trinity, North Carolina. So it's a
Trinity.
little bit, it's kind of like between Asheboro and Greensboro.
Okay.
So
That's
No,
a new
no,
shop.
no.
How many employees?
I've got my one guy, Henry, has been with me since the beginning.
Oh, really, Henry?
Yeah, I hired one part-time guy and didn't work out. I'll hire someone else here soon. I need to find a secretary, somebody working in the shop. Because, because right now, man, I do all the quotes, all the invoices, all the calls, then all the remote tuning, all the actual tuning.
Yeah.
I'm 100 mile an hour. Just today, I've remoted for cars in South Carolina, Wilmington, Florida, Kentucky. So that alone is a handful. Then we got a handful of cars there waiting on me, and whatever Henry's getting finished up, and then 30 calls a day.
Yeah. Jeez.
And then, I've got to get all these invoices done for all these cars and get all these quotes. There's, at any given time, there's probably 30 people on my phone that are pissed off that I haven't gotten back to them.
Dang.
Yeah,
You're saying dang, but you're kind of in the same situation with Autopilot Exotics. You're doing the quotes, you're helping me with the invoices, you're helping me with marketing, you're doing the engineering. I mean, you're helping me with welding.
Yeah, but it's not like this. It sounds like we'd be drowning.
Oh yeah.
Had 30 people waiting for a reply, and I hate like having a long delay from getting back to somebody like usually in a 24-hour window. Like I would like to at least meet that, maybe right outside of it. But I think it's important to just kind of like touch bases just a little bit. But it's not. I can't always like hold a conversation, and I know what you mean. There's some times where it's a conversation about how to check the oil, and it's a different process for all different cars. But for some of the new Lambo owners, that's the first thing they got to learn. Pretty important step, especially if the car is drinking a quart of oil every 700 miles. So sometimes they overfill it and then start shooting up to the intake manifold and they start getting concerned. But
I know one of the fun things about that is a lot of times there's probably questions that she can answer, but they want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah. I was a car salesman when I met him, and I've told him so many stories where I could literally tell a man, this table is black. Like, all right, you got a man to come tell me that this table is black? That happened a lot. But that's why I kind of stick in the background. I do the invoicing. I do the welding.
It's nice to look over at the weld bench and she's just over there
Yeah.
dabbing
even
away.
just a little bit of help. I mean, even if it's not, you feel like you're not doing a ton, but that just a little bit taken off when when it's just, like I say, I feel like everything on my to-do list, like as I check it off, I feel like it was supposed to have been done 2 weeks ago, So, and sometimes it's not a ton of stuff that makes us feel that way. It's just having a little bit more than we can handle, slowly building up. So, I know that's got to be, you've got to be, helping out quite a bit. But yeah, no, customers are difficult. I mean, I remember the realization that the day I remember where I was sitting when it finally hit me when I was at the old place, I was working on my personal property. My ex was helping me out after, me and her split up and she was working in there. And, every time I turn around, she was actually doing pretty decent about helping out and working in the office and doing invoices and returning calls and putting people on the schedule. And, hey, so you've got these mods, it's going to cost this much. Our next open day is, September the 27th or whatever.
Yeah.
And, they always want to talk to me. And there's a handful of people who are like, well, they just want you to call them. But what do they want? Like, well, they just said, have you called them? I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like, if they pay a deposit to get some work done, maybe I'll be able to take some time to call them. But everybody wants to talk to me. I don't have time for that. Like, she would come with this list, at the end of the day, like, hey, these are all the people you still need to get back to. Uh-huh. And I remember finally just coming to the conclusion, like, we need to start being okay with the idea that I'm not going to be able to call everybody back. Like, we're to a point where there's not enough of me and I'm not going to be able to call everybody. I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's call. I'm not going to be able to return everybody. I'm not going to be able to get a quote for everybody. And we're going to start being a little more picky about, what we're working on, what we're doing. So, and start trying to dial that more into, what's our best bang for the buck? What's our thing that sets apart everybody a little bit different from everybody else, which is the tuning. So,
I've been having some fun talking with our clients.
Yeah.
Like they actually turn into our friends and we start going out and doing rallies together.
Nice.
So like we've had some pleasant conversations, but there's times where like I'm texting somebody about a car mod and we're in the middle of the grocery store and she's like, can you get some coffee creamer? I'm like, yes. 1 second. I'm just blocking everybody. Let me get back to this guy. Like I enjoy the conversations. I love the car talk. Like I said, I haven't experienced what you're experienced yet, and I hope I don't experience that because that would overwhelm me. Like if I'd be drowning and just
that's the biggest
so
thing
many
is,
people reaching out for information and we just don't have time. That would suck.
But that's what the YouTube videos help with too. So
yeah, we're doing a lot of
how to check the oil.
Yeah, DIY videos, and that's really helping. So like we'll shoot those, and then we'll shoot them out to some people, especially if they like post on the group. They ask a question, I just throw a video that I've already filmed, explain the topic in the comment section. And I've gotten a lot of appreciation out of that. So we're going to keep
That's actually a great idea. So that's one thing that, and maybe you could take from this also. But so I made a private page for all my customers. Because there's a lot of things that we do as far as tuning and calibrating that sets us apart from everyone else. So I don't want it to be common knowledge. I help a lot of tuners. There's lots of LS tuners in the area whose cars I've tuned. We just keep that hush hush. I have no problems helping people, but I'm not going to put everything out there for free.
Yeah.
But obviously if you're paying custom, you are. So once you pay a deposit for a tune, I add you to this tech page and it goes over all the common issues like, hey, this is, these are most likely, these issues. This is how you see this. This is setting tire pressure, for no prep stuff. I mean, just all the little odds and ends that takes a lot of time to explain. Once a week or once a month, I try to sit down and take, an hour or two to cover a topic, like simple stuff, ohm and out plug wires, that has people a lot of times chasing their tail for days and, let me try this and that and the other thing. Break out a multimeter. This is how you do it. Like,
yeah.
And that that saves a lot of time, having those videos up there and those tech posts.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So, and it's also, but it's not putting it out there for, your competition who isn't paying you anything.
Yeah, correct. Well, I don't think I have any competition. I'm not saying that. Hold on. I'm not saying that out of like cockiness or arrogance, but like, who else is doing twin turbo Lambos? Like,
Garrett
I'm
is.
not saying, yeah, well, not a lot. I know maybe one shop out in California that's doing that, but there's
What about like UGR and stuff, aren't they?
they're not really doing Gallardos unless it's a special case.
Mm.
But like I said, like there's no competition between me and them. I'm like respectfully, like I look up to UGR a lot.
Yeah, of course.
They've motivated me so much to get to where we're at and
Mhm.
fabricating with what we're doing. So like I'm not on their level respectfully. It's like saying like I'm a high school MVP football player and then they're NFL, right? So like although there's a performance aspect and an aesthetics aspect that I'm going after, that they are going after a different approach. It's just we're just not doing the same thing.
Gotcha.
Let alone they're not even really doing Gallardos at all. They're just doing SVJ, Aventadors and Huracans and all the STOs that
No, I
come
mean, that's
off the
definitely
boat.
respectable, and it's always good to be humble. Obviously, people that have done the stuff that we've done and have the background that we have a lot of times struggle with being humble. But I will tell you that that might not be the case forever. There's times where I remember looking at shops where I was like, man, like I would kill to be doing that type of stuff. And then, now I'm getting emails from them like, hey, what would it cost to get you out here tuning on,
And then
every
here
once
you
a
are.
month or something, or their tuners hit me up asking for help. And sometimes that stuff happens quicker than you know it. And there might be a time where you're like, you're looking at what some of these people work that you used to look up to and like, can't believe they did that. Like, let me fix that for you.
I'm still gonna love everything that they've done. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So speaking of people hitting you up, what was it like being on Netflix?
Oh,
Netflix.
oh,
Oh, I didn't know we had a star here.
Oh,
A
we don't.
movie star.
Yeah, I stated in the
we
beginning.
do
What?
not. We do not have a star here. Not my favorite thing, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll say, all in all, I'm glad I got the experience. It's definitely an eye opener in some cases. I met some awesome people. There's people that I will be friends with for the rest of my life. I met from that show. But as far as working with Netflix and the producers themselves, it was bad. They're like recruiters. Yeah, they are.
Dang recruiters.
No offense. I know you're about to be a recruiter.
Especially the military ones.
But they came to us and our specialty is no prep.
Yeah.
No prep and unprepped surfaces. Highway simulated type things.
Uh-huh.
But specifically drag racing, straight line stuff. And I want to say it was maybe 6-8 months after that first dig or die race. I don't know if you watch any of those there's like $100,000 dig or die, no prep races.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, the first one of those they ever did on the back half of 710, I won the 2810 half class with my car.
Oh wow.
And then I got put out in the semifinals to the Tesla Racing Channel, Tesla that Charles Corder drives or
Okay.
drove. I don't know if he still has it. I haven't talked to him in a while. But man, he got me. Those things they'll 630, 8th mile on a horrible road. He'll even tell you like, hey, my favorite road to put people on is a bad one. Because they're all-wheel drive. They're just going to go A to B no matter what.
Yeah.
And I broke a travel limiter that round. I was freight training everybody out there. The car wasn't set up super great. I knew nothing compared to what I know now. We had like a couple batteries and some concrete in the trunk, for ballast, some travel limiters in the front that I made from crap I found at Lowe's. We were balling on a budget and we are making it work. And I was out there freight training people. Like it was a good night. But he got me. I don't like losing. That car was still on the trailer that night. I was ordering new suspension. And, I was coming. He jumped out a handful of cars and I pedaled it a couple times. I spun like half track and I clicked it in high gear and I was coming, but I couldn't run down time. And I was a little salty about it. And, I told him, I hit him up. I was like, hey, I want to rerun. I want to get my face back. Like, streetcar takeover's coming up. Like, let's meet up or something. And he's like, yeah, let's put a little something on social media. Let's try to, make something of it. And he made a post tagging me talking about how, they'd be lined up with my car again here soon. And I guess one of the producers were actually like trying to get up with him and they saw my name. So they hit me up And I swear I thought it was the cops first. They're like, hey, is this Mark Rios? I'm like, yes. They're like, you got a black Camaro that you street race, right? I'm like, who's this? And they're like, oh, they're telling me I'm the producer for Netflix and this and that, and they want to know about, ask me some questions about street racing. I'm like, no.
Yeah, probably not the best approach to ask somebody about street racing.
Yeah, and but anyway, it turns out to be legit. But these people told me, they were like, oh yeah, no, it's all types of driving and it's all types of drivers and it's all grassroots racers like you. I'm like, well, I'm a driver. Let's do this, And it's a drag car with a glide in it, 2-speed glide, manual steering rack. You're in there putting in work, just driving around a parking lot. It's not, car's not meant for curves and stuff. But I had 4-corner adjustable suspension. We can run the car anywhere between 500 horsepower, 1,200 horsepower. And I was like, let's go do this, Fast forward till we get there. And I don't even like drifting at this point. And I know some of these drifters from across the world. I'm like, oh, I've been in a setup before and it looked a lot like this. Like literally, I never watched drifting a day in my life, and I knew some of these people that were there. I was like, oh, I feel like this is going to be bad, and it was. It was. It was mostly drift oriented. There's a lot of cars that were set up out there for that. There was another customer and friend of mine that showed up out there with a 5th-gen Camaro that we built for him. A couple weeks leading up to that. And it was a good experience. The course was grueling. Like it was taking out cars left and right. They were tearing up motors. People were trashing suspension. They had hired a little speed shop to be like on call there, working and helping fix people's stuff. Yeah. But they couldn't keep up. And I try to be prepared for everything. Yeah. When it comes to racing, especially out of town, you bring everything because whatever you don't bring is what you're gonna need.
We've learned that.
Yeah. So like I had a MIG welder, a TIG welder. I had, I'm talking everything, extra materials. I brought everything. And man, if I wasn't on that welder fairly often, afterwards, I got put out or, we did like 2 weeks of practicing, so we're out there back to back to back doing the Rockford turn, where you haul ass in reverse and whip it around and,
Dang.
It was pretty cool stuff. And I learned a lot about driving. It definitely made me a better driver. But yeah, the course was bad, and it was people breaking stuff left and right. So that's why we made a lot of friends. I'm talking to an interpreter, through an interpreter to these other people about like what we need to do to fix their stuff so they can go back out. So it was definitely a good time. But those of us that came with drag cars, they didn't care. Yeah. And just say for example, doing the Rockford turn, where the one that I looked like a complete idiot on national television doing.
So we need to put the clip on here somewhere.
Oh no, we do not. Please don't do that. We practiced it a bunch of times, and a spotter. Henry was my spotter, and he's on comms in your ear, and he'll tell you, hey, speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up now. So that way when to yank the wheel and crank it around. And with that communication, you get good at it, and you kind of feel each other out and nailed it a handful of times back to back before we ever did it. Well, I'm strapped in, cameras all over the car, and I'm like, hey, I don't have comms. I can't hear my guy. I'm like, it's fine. They'll figure it out. And I'm like, I can't hear my spotter. And like, they gave you the course like that day, this new course that you're doing that you've never done before. It's a handful of different obstacles. Uh-huh. They never figured it out. So I'm like, turtle in it, scared to tear my stuff up, looked like a complete Riri. Didn't go fast enough, didn't yank it around, knocked over all kinds of stuff. Just like, I think one of the commentators was like, oh, my grandma could have done better. And I was like, oh, God. And then, it was not the best experience.
How long did it last? Was that filming?
So we were out there almost a month.
Really?
The little spurt that I was on TV was like 6 seconds. It wasn't long enough to get some jabs in and make fun of me, and then,
a whole month for that.
Just roast him.
There was lots of practice in them. They put us. It's all in all, like I said, it was a good experience. Yeah. Netflix paid for a whole bunch of my safety equipment because they're like, you got a 1,200 horsepower car and you don't got no cage, no chute, no fire suit. I'm like, well. This is what we call Tuesday night for us, man. Like, it ain't no big deal. So they paid for the roll cage I got in the car.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they paid for the wrap that was on it, which I hated, but that's what they wanted.
The camo one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We'll come back to that in a second.
I thought you did that.
Absolutely,
Because you're in the army?
Because
absolutely not.
he's a veteran.
No, absolutely.
He has to tell everyone.
Oh no, we'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, so they paid for the cage, they paid for the fire suit, the helmet, the 4-point harness is nice where he's equipped, 4 harness and stuff. So that was cool. Good little chunk of money they put into that. Free hotel, free food. And like I said, good experience, good people. That was where we first got our contacts, where we were sending stuff overseas. And like I said, friends all around the world from it. So it was a good experience. It was the people that made it good. The producers sucked. Working with those people sucked. But the people made a good experience. But yeah, about the whole rap, they wanted to make, it's supposed to be reality TV, but they wanted to make every single thing that came out of my mouth or about me have to do with being in the Army.
Yep.
Every single thing about it. Like,
they pick one thing and they're gonna.
oh, that's
stick
it. They
to
wanted
it.
me there because I was a veteran. I was in the Army. I was a Black Hawk helicopter mechanic. So like,
that's the only reason why I invited him today.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
I hate it here. But no, like we're doing interviews when they're like, oh, they'll ask me a question and then they'll like, I'll give an answer and they'll ask it like a different way. They'll have to say, oh, you want to just tell me what you want me to say so we can get this over with? Because they were just trying to like drag everything back to, my experience in the Army or being in the Army. I'm like, this is not who I am. It's just something I did. And I'm really over it, honestly. So that's the way it was towards the end. They're literally, I was like, just tell me what well, we want you to say what you want. No, you don't. I tried that for 20 minutes now. Let's just get this done.
I've noticed that with a lot of reality TV shows like Survivor or something. You can't imagine how many times they say, with my Army experience. I'm like, all right, we get it.
They're like, so what was your best decision you ever made? He's like, getting out of the Army.
No,
no.
cut. Another question.
No, it was bad. Like I said,
It's joining the Army.
Yeah.
They're like, can we get an interpreter? This guy's not understanding. Pay him some more money.
We need the cue cards. I need to watch that now. I need to find it.
No,
Sure, I could just Google it.
What
Mark
episode
Rios
are
Netflix.
you? What episode can we
I don't remember.
capture the 6 seconds of?
I try to forget, honestly.
Hey, if any of you guys find it, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, link me.
Don't do it. It was bad. It was embarrassing.
You got to hang out with that was a drifter, now off-roader Lit Brit.
Oh,
And,
probably Light Bright Nation, Brittany and Kevin.
Yeah.
You say
Kevin.
Lit Brit?
Light Bright.
No, they're pretty big on YouTube and stuff. I think before that, they got that Light Bright Nation channel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Kevin and Brittany, they're awesome. They're really good people. I don't know if I've hung out with them since the show. Sarah Haro, super cool person. She's come through there a couple times. We met up for dinner. Who else?
So I was friends with Britt on Facebook, and I saw like a bunch of her drifting videos on YouTube. And after the show, my sister is like a big fan of the show, by the way. So after, and she became a big fan of Britt, and I was able to reach out to her.
She's really a driver. I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple of times like we got there and I'm like, that girl's here because she's cute. Like that's the only reason why she's here. No, she can drive. Like
That's
we.
good.
We saw like in the first little bit, her and Sarah were two like some of the most impressive people because Sarah showed up in this little V6 Mustang that sounded, like a Ricer, and we're like, and she's a pretty girl also. We're like, we know why they're here. It's because they're pretty. No, both of them like we all were like sitting there like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just, out driving the hell out of a lot of the guys that were there in $200,000-$300,000 cars.
I love stories like that. I love
they were
that.
just getting it in. So not naturally everybody became a fan with the quickness.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're all really super cool people. Definitely.
So other than the reverse 180 stunt, was there anything that you did with your car that made you competitive versus the other drivers?
No, there's a bunch of different obstacles that we did, and I have a hard time remembering off the top of my head because it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I'm a little low on sleep today. But there's a handful of different things that we did. And there's one like, you if you watch the show, you'll see where like, there's some of these spots where you pop up, it's a grid, and like you go, and then you got to wait for as you're going the next light to go, so you know which way you're yanking the wheel. So it's definitely quick. But as far as driving, I don't think it definitely improved my driving skills a little bit just because it opened me up to a different world that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks drag racing straight line, like, oh, it's easy, just hit the gas and go. Like, not if you're making enough power. Sometimes they're a handful. But no, there's definitely a whole nother world that was definitely cool to learn. But I say the most thing that I learned was setting up the car.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different on setting up the car for drifting and how they work. And since then, I've actually tuned a bunch of drift cars and sat in a handful of drift cars, tuned them. And it's just like I said, it's definitely a different world. It's a whole nother cup of tea. That's one of those things you don't realize how intricate and how detailed it is to be competitive. Until you start getting your hands in it.
And what happened to the cars that got damaged during the driving? Just like, oh well, your trailer's getting cleared tomorrow.
I stuffed mine in a guardrail in the back corner during practice one day.
Yeah.
And because I cut the wheel and I pulled it down and drive before the car was finished backing up, so it cut it off, which meant I lost my power brakes. So I stuffed the back corner into a guardrail, and it looked bad. And there we were with at the other guardrail in our pits where we were parked. With chains and ratchet straps and hammers trying to beat this fender back out, in the back corner because it's a structural piece, and trying to get the headlight or the taillight to fit back in there and trying to cover up this horrible damage, with like sponsor stickers. I had a big old Brian to the Racing sticker that we like put over it, and had to go get it approved by the the crew. Were like, hey, we're moving one of our sponsor stickers on the cars. This okay? And like, oh, what'd you do? I'm like, don't. Just, is this okay?
The camouflage didn't camouflage it?
No. No, not for the damage we had to do to try to straighten it back out-ish.
That'd be cool if you just started your own show.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little camera crew just follow you around.
Oh, yeah, like the Kardashians.
and
I'm way too abrasive and have too much of a dark sense of humor for most people, too.
There's a beep button over there. You can just, every time you cuss, beep.
What number is it?
It's number 1.
Hit number 1. On
the white square.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a clap. Wrong one.
Oh no, the programming.
No.
I think it's the pink one, actually, now that I think about it. Down.
Which pink?
Yeah.
There's 8 left.
That one. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
There's only 8
Problem
options.
is, I don't plan on doing it. It just happens.
Yeah.
So
It's okay.
I'll probably have to go back and beep those out if I do.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You're a natural at it.
Definitely a natural at messing some things up.
So how's the Camaro now?
You still have it?
She's a lawn ornament.
I'm sure he's not.
Yeah, I'm not going to get rid of it. I've had a couple people offer to buy it. So I mean, since I got it back, I gutted it, and that car. It's one of those things where I never really had a lot of time for it. I either had the time or I had the money, right? So I was either slammed busy, so I had the money to play with it, but I didn't have the time because I was slammed, or vice versa. I had the time, but I wasn't working enough. And back when I was in the Army and doing this stuff on the side, and even shortly after, my ex, she wanted to open a restaurant, which we weren't positioned to do, but I wanted to, try to support her, which cost a ton of money. And, I pulled the engine and pulled the interior and the trans and everything out of it because I wanted to, it had been apart and back together so many times in such a rush with the little bit of time I did have to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of stuff like the engine bay that was like kind of rattle can and looking a little raggedy, and some parts of the roll cage that, it went in real nice, fitted real nice, welded up real nice, but a little rust here and there, and it was kind of rattle canned and it was just looking a little raggedy. So I gutted it and had everything painted. It had the engine bay and roll cage and the whole car painted to match and everything, parachute and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then while I was apart, we were going through some bad stuff financially with getting that restaurant going, then COVID hitting, and I ended up selling just about everything out of it.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm planning to in the next like 90 days. I plan on getting back on it and getting back together. I want to be trying to racing it next year.
Oh, nice.
At Fayetteville track,
Wherever.
like Grudge match, or
yeah. I mean, we're gonna start off like we normally do. We don't normally start off at the track. Every time the car goes back together, it goes back together a little bit faster. And or in this case, I expect it to be a lot faster. And if we start the track, people see times, and people can tell how fast it is, so that we can't get any races.
Yeah.
So that's where we messed up last time. Went to the track, tried to dial it in. We went some 580s at 120 in the 8th mile on pump gas. It was a full weight car. We went some low 9s coasting through the brake, coasting through the traps on the brakes. And some people saw that, and then after that, we couldn't get a race anymore, highway or not. And then we won a couple street races, won that some of them digger dyno races and stuff, and can't get no races. So probably what we're going to do, like we normally do, is we're going to start off in Mexico, try to make a little money.
far drive.
Yeah. Try to make a little money and get some seat time in, once it's dialed in and get out there and race like that for a while. And then once the name kind of starts getting out there, and because the name usually outruns the car within a month or two of it being up,
Really?
so once that happens, we can't get any more races, then we'll bring it to the track and, start doing that type of stuff and traveling around and doing events like street car takeover and class races and stuff like that. So
Get back on Netflix.
no, absolutely not.
Is there any way you can make it run low boost settings on the strip so that everyone is seeing a 10-second car, but you have it dialed in?
Yeah, I mean, that's all
Or a
grudge
height.
racing. I mean, that's 90% of grudge racing. Like a bunch of these, small little hole in wall tracks around here. I mean, that's the whole game is trying to talk your car down, trying to talk the other person's car up if you think you've got them covered, talking yours down, talking theirs up, making yours look slow, running it without the nitrous, or turn the boost controller down. So they're like, yeah, I'll run you for $1,000, and then turn her on up and give it to them. That's a whole world of racing right around here.
So does making it look like a junkyard build, is that a tactic?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And is it effective?
Not anymore, just because so many people nowadays know that one, grudge racing has made everybody, weary. We've seen some of these raggedy old, looks like it came out the junkyard, 6 different color car.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got an eBay turbo and a 300,000 mile junkyard motor. Go run a 520 to 145 in the eighth, like. Wait a minute, so, and then you see some really nice clean cars. They're just, turtles, so it's the grudge game's really hard to get into. That, and one thing that kind of killed racing and drag racing in general, in my opinion, is social media. Just because, 15, 20 years ago, you would take an L, you hand over your money, you go back home, you try back next weekend, and it's over. Whereas now, you take an L, man, they ain't gonna let you live it down forever. They will bring that, they will dig on Facebook, they will go to their, history or whatever. They're gonna share it every year, and you're never gonna live it down.
Have you experienced this?
No, I haven't, but I've seen a lot of it. I mean, I don't really care. That's part of winning. That's part of winning and racing. And there's only 2 people. Somebody's gonna lose.
That's true.
Yeah.
I always see those junky looking cars on the back of a trailer on their way to Rockingham. I'm always like, man, does that even run?
Are you going to do this until you can't no more? Like, is this your career now? Just tuning and modifying?
Yeah, man, I like it.
That's awesome.
I mean, so some people are like, oh, I wouldn't tell people that, but I don't know, it's kind of part of who I am. I mean, to be 100% honest, I don't have a ton of bills. I get 100% from the VA. Like, I don't have to work if I don't want to. I'm probably going back to school here soon. I do it because I like it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously it's good to be passionate about what you're doing every day.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also a bad thing because, like, my customer service is kind of bad sometimes. Like, I've had to tell a couple people, like, bro, this is not McDonald's. You ain't going to talk to me stupid. You can come get your shit and leave. You
got to get an admin person. Help you out.
No, I've had Henry that's been with me forever. He's like, bro, you can't talk to people like that. If nobody tells them they're stupid, how are they going to know? That's not how this works. I mean, I try to be cool, but there's, some people are just off the wall, just disrespectful, pushy, just, nasty. And, the fact of the matter is, if you're good, you're busy and you're backed up. I get calls all the time. People are like, oh, hey, can you get me in tomorrow? I'm like, are you high? Like, no, I can't get you in tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to call somebody else. Like, if you can find someone that can get you in tomorrow, you probably don't want them working on your car because they're probably not good at what they do. But there's some people that are just, just rude and pushy and nasty and impatient. And, hey, man, I'll call you on an update. It might be a couple of days. Call me 3 times the next day. No.
I think social media has attributed to that. Everybody's used to, 30-second attention span, or when they order things off Amazon or wherever they're ordering, it's like 1 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And everybody's used to that instant
gratification.
Fast food, instant.
Yeah, instant gratification. And when you actually have to work on a product and actually put your time and effort into it, it's not going to be quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, listen, if you're price shopping, like, I'm not the guy. If you want done ASAP, I'm also not your guy. Like, I promise it will be right. I promise it will be nice. I promise you're going to look at me like, man, that is awesome. I wouldn't have thought it came out that nice. I'm also don't call me till I call you guy or we're going to have a problem. I've had a handful of people where, hey, man, you can bring it tomorrow if you want to. That's your time. If that's the only time you can bring it, but I might not be able to touch it for 2 weeks, and then start calling me every single day starting this week. And then I had a guy a couple months ago call me, hey, man, it's probably like a week before I can get to it. I got to get one car off lift, get yours on, we have to order some stuff. All right. Then call me the next day, and then the next day. And then I stopped answering the calls. I'm like, I know what he wants. I don't have an update because, I told him I wouldn't have one yet. And then started calling me from different numbers.
Hmm.
And one time it got me. I answered it. He's like, "Hey man, are you ignoring my calls?" I was like, "Yes, I am." He's like, "Well, that's messed up." I'm like, "Bro, I told you I don't have time to call. Do you understand how little stuff I would get done if everybody that had a car here? I've got 20 cars here. If everybody called me as much as you call me, like nothing would get done. I told you I'll call you when I get an update. And sometimes I might say I'll call you in a couple of days an update, and it might be a week. Shut up. You know, I don't have patience for that stuff. I've told a couple people like, listen, man, if you want, you can come get your car and your parts, and I'll tell you what you owe, and you can go somewhere else." Like,
You said Henry's your helper?
mhm,
Does can he screen calls
yeah. I don't stick the phone with them.
or like have like a shop phone number?
So we've got two separate phones. I've got a work phone and personal phone. That was one of like the best things I ever did, because when
Yeah.
it was my personal phone for also the shop stuff, oh man, it just never stopped ringing, and you never know if it's a friend or if it's business. So you answer it all the time. Then you have customers calling like 12 o'clock at night on a Sunday. I'm like, it was good just to be like, okay, hey, I'm working a little late tonight. Keep my phone on me. Or, okay, I've had enough today. I'm leaving this thing here and I'm leaving. With the exception of business owners, there's lots of shops that I tune for.
Mhm.
They've got my personal cell.
Nice.
But other than that, new customers, people I don't know, people I don't like, whatever. They're not my buddy. I don't tune 6 cars a month for them. No, you're not getting my personal phone.
Well, whatever you're doing is working, because so I've known him since 2017, and I've heard nothing but good things, obviously, from him,
Yeah.
from people we hang out with.
Don't lie.
No,
There's
I'm
been
serious.
There's been some bad things.
No, seriously. Like, nothing but good things from everybody. We go to Cars and Coffee. Nothing but good things
Yeah.
if your name's out there.
That's good.
So
Yeah, your name is out there obviously for good reasons.
yeah.
You're magical with your hands. And he's taught me some things about making wiring harnesses.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Real fun class with you. I know you're busy and I really appreciate every moment you give, like especially coming all the way out here and
Yeah, for
filming.
sure.
But
I mean, it's a cool, nice little break. I'm glad to get on and do a little talking, something a little different, and see how
Yeah.
y'all are doing stuff. Because, like I said, I want to start maybe doing a little content of mine here soon, and I'm always glad to help out.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that.
Yeah, you and Henry sitting there talking.
Well, I'm gonna start doing some. I got a GoPro recently, and I'm gonna start doing some in-car vids. I've had a couple of. We've had a couple of runs, that I was driving where I'm like, whew, I wish we had a video in the car for that.
Yeah.
Get yourself like a little GoPro.
Yeah, I just got one. And so there was one time last year I was driving a customer car at Fayetteville, and a radiator hose came off I was doing 145, 147 mile an hour on the back half of the track, and the radiator hose came off. And I was in there full turns on the wheel at over 140 to keep this thing between the guardrails. Kept it straight, kept it shiny side up, didn't turn nothing up.
Nice.
But I was in there putting in work, and I was like, oh man, like I wish I had a GoPro in the car. Like that would have gone viral. A lot of that no prep stuff.
There's that 360 camera
Yeah.
hanging off the back, and it's got a nice little bird's eye view.
Yeah, I've seen those. I'm gonna start with regular GoPro in car, and I might end up getting one of those eventually. We'll see how it goes.
I'd watch that. I'd just want to listen to the commentary of you driving.
Oh man, probably don't want to listen to.
No,
that.
I do. I do. It'd be entertaining. I promise you, more people want to hear you than you
You're
think.
Henry, I told you to tighten that clamp.
Yeah, no, it'd be bad. There's definitely, so Henry's a veteran also. He started working with me. I was, still
Henry?
full-time Army. He was full-time.
Thank you for your service, Henry.
Thank you for your cervix. He was in the Marine Corps.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, so he was driving, on the weekends to come help out and work with me. And then he got out about the same time I got out, a little before I got out maybe. And he went to NTI, and then he did the GM Tech version out in Arizona and got his, all the certifications and all that stuff. So, but he's been with me for a long time now.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, since we're both veterans and we're both a little grumpy, we both curse a lot. So it's.
Could you imagine if I was in the shop with you and like a little magical butterfly just running around, smiling like, "What are you guys cussing for?"
I know I swear he's always happy. I've never seen him angry. Well, one time I saw him angry on the road
I've seen him
driving,
angry.
and I was like, I don't even know what to do. Do I talk to you? Do I let you vent? Am I just quiet? What am I supposed to do? Yeah, he's never angry. He's just happy all the time.
Well, that's good.
Driving is not hard, but there's a lot of people out there
That struggle.
that experience challenges in life behind the steering wheel.
I was actually
I
on
think
the
that just pushes
phone
my buttons.
with my son on the way here, and I was like, "This mother," and my son Mark is like, "What? You all right?" I'm like, "Yes, just people don't understand that you should use the fast lane for passing people, not letting everyone pass you in."
Oh yeah, they're bad about that around here.
Yeah.
And they're high beams.
Oh, yeah.
High beams, or putting our four-way flashers on because it's drizzling, or
It's because they didn't change their tires when they needed to
or
be.
my absolute favorite is just when you have a 2-lane road and there's 2 cars doing 5 under just side by side. Past them. That makes my blood boil, my eye twitch.
And God forbid you get them the little friendly. Oh,
Oh, now you're the problem.
yeah.
That's fine. I'll be the problem. That is okay.
I just hate when you can obviously turn right on red, but nobody turns right on red, and they're just sitting there and sitting there. I'm like, oh my god.
No, North Carolina drivers are I'll say the Carolinas are the worst.
I don't know. Have you been to Ohio?
No.
Georgia.
Ohio's really bad.
I will say, so, I mean, I think Florida's probably the best. It's not just because I live there.
Probably.
Okay, not Orlando.
He's talking about the locals.
Not like
the
Orlando or
tourists.
Miami. But I went down to Florida a couple weeks ago. I'm actually
The
going
worst.
back this weekend. And driving on, 95 from here down.
Oh, they're awesome.
And it's horrible all the way down there. There's people, blocking traffic and not driving like they should and not putting their blinkers on and cutting you off. And then you get to Florida and it's like, as you pass the welcome to Florida sign, if you're not doing 90, you better not be in the fast lane.
Doing
No, that
90
is
on
true.
95.
We'll ask my dad about it. He lives in Clearwater. He'll be on the show in October time frame. So I'm gonna ask him about it.
Yeah, he says he takes a bike a lot,
Yeah, he does take a R1.
so he can maneuver.
Imagine that'd be more fun. I'm way too stupid to be on 2 wheels. Like, I need 4 wheels and some metal around me because
Yeah.
I'm that guy that's got to push the limit and find the limit, And yeah, I should never have a bike.
We did the off road thing. Had
Mhm.
a blast. But I couldn't.
I think I saw you posting for a while. You guys posting riding dirt bikes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, but we just have too many hobbies. We can't keep up
Yeah.
with them all. We like to do so many things.
Yeah.
We need to focus on one thing, and we decided to focus on cars.
Yeah. And
Oh, pick the most expensive one. Good call.
They're all expensive when 2 people are into it.
yeah.
Yeah, but cars are the worst.
Yeah,
I
they're
swear,
pretty
drug
bad.
addiction would be cheaper. It's so bad.
We gotta get the house ready for retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right around the corner. Be like you. We're doing it. Fabricating 7 days a week. Are you doing 7 days a week, or do
No,
you have like
no.
take days off?
No, man. My schedule's actually way more laid back now. I'm actually gonna go back to 5 days a week because I was taking 3 days like every weekend. Once I got moved, I was pretty happy. I was in a bad relationship, bad situation for a while. Yeah, I recently moved. I've been taking a lot better care of myself. Quit drinking and got in the gym. Moved, got better area, and getting into a shop, working on personal property is bad. Just because no matter how hard you work, no matter how motivated you are, when it's 100 degrees outside and you're working in the sun,
Oh, yeah.
or it's like 30. My favorite thing that North Carolina does is it'll be anywhere else in the world. If it's below like 35 and raining and snowing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
North Carolina will be 30, 33 degrees and raining.
Yes, and it's cold and it's windy.
Like there's so many times where I'm like, why doesn't it just snow? But yeah, working out in that stuff was miserable. Or the rainy season, there's been so many times where I'm like, I was strapped for cash. Now I've got $3,000 worth of cars I could tune today and tomorrow, but you can't because the weather's horrible and it's raining and stuff.
Mhm.
That, and also, I was working out a 2-car garage. You came there when I welded the exhaust for the GTR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a horrible setup. We were doing so much with so little that now that I've got a shop, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. A couple bay shop. We've got an office big enough to where part of it's, engine assembly room and then, office area.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, so we're, everything goes a lot more efficiently, a lot more effectively. I spend a little bit of time working, from home on a laptop, and I spend a lot of time in the office at the shop. But no, for the longest time, I've been taking 3-day weekends. I work, our schedule right now is actually posted on the door. 10 to 6, Tuesday through Thursday, Fridays by appointment only.
12-6.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Those are good shop hours.
I know.
No, people like all the time. They're like, "Why don't y'all start till 12 on Mondays?" Because fuck Mondays. That's why Mondays suck. And like that's seriously why y'all don't start 12. Yes, that is why.
It was less than a year of us working in the garage, and we were like, we need a mini split. Like, I'm not going out there; it's cold, or I'm not going out there because it's hot.
Mhm.
So you can't have the garage door open because it's too hot or too cold. So yeah, we put a mini split in, and that made
There's
one
like
heck
2
of a
months out of the
difference.
year that
Yeah.
North Carolina's like, oh, it's really nice weather out
Yes.
here.
But then you
Other
have
than that,
mosquitoes.
you're
Oh,
cold.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, fall and spring they're not super bad, but I personally like that 55 to 65 weather for working in.
Yeah. I prefer being in a hoodie. Like I was actually in a hoodie earlier today.
You're always in a hoodie.
Well,
I have to.
I was-
I have to tell him to put summer
Is it like
clothes on.
80 and humid today, or is it different over here in this part of the world? That's only like
No, I'm saying like in our shop, The AC is blasting.
Yeah, it is cold.
It's blasting.
It's cold.
70.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got this
So
turbo
we're just rubbing
mode.
it in.
I put turbo mode on, and it gets a little frosty in there, so I go get my hoodie on.
Yeah, I got a little. I
It's
actually put a
August.
That's
little
true.
AC
I was cold yesterday.
I got an AC unit in the office. So Henry's always like excited when it's time to build a motor.
Yeah.
So he's building motors all day today and tomorrow, and that definitely it helps. But I'm gonna definitely be getting a mini split in there here soon, for sure, and the rest of the shop. So he doesn't
It
rely on me.
helps so much. Like I actually want to go weld now because when I sit there, we got the cold breeze and the hot torch. Feels good.
Yeah. So you're not welding anymore?
I do, but mostly just for projects that are there. Like, we'll take on a project or two at a time. So right now I've got a twin turbo and nitrous 5th gen Camaro there from Connecticut. If it needs a little something, I'm not going to call my man and be like, hey, you need to sort this out. No. If it needs something, take care of it and weld it. If we got to make a bracket for something cracked, I'm going to take care of it. Or there's a car they're getting nitrous installed. I'm actually really behind on. It's a one-off nitrous install. We're making, I made the whole dedicated fuel system from scratch, making all the lines and everything. Thread inserts, rib nuts for mounting everything, and making brackets for everything. So if I got to weld up a bracket or something like that, it's mostly for that stuff, personal stuff. Or when I drag my ship box down there and start working on the turbo kit for that. But personal stuff, and then just supporting customer builds that are there. Just because every now and then you've got to weld something, you got to fix something.
Your Camaro would that use a liquid to air intercooler or?
It did use liquid to air before.
It was liquid air?
Yeah.
And what water pump?
Davies Craig. We use a Davies Craig WP pump. I think I was probably the first one that told you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those are my favorite, man. We use those on everything. They're really durable. A lot of people use the Stewart EMP pumps, on like the Cadillac CTSVs and stuff. And they work well. They move a lot of water. But they die all the time. They're really picky about mounting location. They've got to be like, there's a couple positions you can put them in, and within like plus or minus 10 degrees, Yeah. And people kill them all the time. And they're like way more expensive. Whereas those Davies Craig pumps, they move 40 gallons a minute, no matter what. They really don't care much about head pressure, which is what kills a lot of pumps. A lot of people use, like a lot of those rural pumps are like bilge pumps. Like, oh yeah, it moves 30 gallons a minute. Until you put a little bit of pressure in front of it, it's got to push through a heat exchanger, and then it does nothing, I love those things. On my car, I actually had one on the engine for the electric water pump, and then I had one for the heat exchanger for the intercooler.
Oh, nice.
So, they're good stuff.
Dang, dude. So is there a horsepower goal for the car, or you just go based on dialing the car in?
I expect it to be in the 1,500 wheel horsepower range.
Wow.
My goal for now, like I said before, it was, I want to be a street car. I was handicapping myself, and I was like, man, I want to be a street car. I want to have AC, power steering, cruise control, full interior, driving on pump gas, and I want to go to the track, run 5s and 8th, and drive it home, which I did. And mostly just because I'm hard-headed and everybody said I couldn't on pump gas. It took a little bit of headache and a little bit of, kicking myself and torching a couple heads to figure it out. Learn the hard way. But yeah, no, this time around, the car's about 3,800 pounds when it was going 580s at 120, 122. Now I'm trying to get down to about 3,000 pounds with me in it. It's still going to, appear street car, still going to have all the seats in it. It's going to have carpet. It's going to have radio. It's going to have power windows. But I want to be 3,000 pounds with me in it and 1,500 wheel horsepower. I want to go about 155 in the 8th and 180 out the back door in the quarter. I want to drive it to the track, run those numbers, drive it home.
That sounds fun.
So we'll see.
I want to see videos.
Well, there will be some.
On Facebook. And reposted every year.
Remember that time?
Remember the time I beat you?
Yeah, that's how I live vicariously through my old race car days now. Oh, look, a video from when I was running like 5 years ago.
We'll make sure you do more. But I don't want to hold you up anymore. I know you got a lot of clients to get back to.
Yeah.
Return some phone calls. But I greatly appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a pleasure to be here. I'm glad I came.
And make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button and follow Mark. What's your Instagram or a platform they can follow you on?
Rios Racing on Facebook. Got a Rios Racing on TikTok too. So
okay, Rios Racing on Facebook and TikTok,
and Instagram.
That's a young person's platform.
Hey man, trying to get it in.
Well, thank you very much for watching.
Yep.
Stick around, and we'll post the next video here next week. See ya.